Hello, this is Craig Mertens, Director of Product Education for Inktavo, the parent company of GraphicsFlow, Inksoft, and Printavo. Welcome to our webcast today. Today we're going to do a new user orientation. And if you're already experienced with GraphicsFlow, it's going to be kind of a brush up for you guys. We'll call that things you pretend you already know. But we're really going to get deep into the platform and go through all of the basics. So you're going to learn some new things. I'll show you some hidden secrets. But if you're new to GraphicsFlow, this is the place to start. It's going to give you all the basic skills for the web app. So what you're looking at on the screen is the login for GraphicsFlow. And GraphicsFlow is a web app, which means it can operate on your cell phone, iOS or Android, a tablet computer, a Mac, or a Windows computer. So it's independent of your operating system. If you have a web browser, you can access your GraphicsFlow account, and it's mobile optimized, so it's designed to work on a cell phone. It doesn't look quite as great on a cell phone because we're dealing with graphics and things can be a little bit compact, but it works just fine. So when I log in, I'm going to be able to access my account. If you're logging in and you do not have your password, you can always reset your password just by clicking on Forget Password. Email will be sent to your main email, reset your password. Passwords in GraphicsFlow are 10 digits. So I know a lot of you have that favorite 8-digit password. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Please don't do that. So you'll want to set up a 10-digit password, and every user will have their own login and password. So I'm going to go ahead and click on sign in. And as soon as I sign into my account, I'm going to be greeted by design ideas. And so the first thing that you'll see in the GraphicsFlow app is design ideas. You'll also see some statistics at the top over here. You're going to see I've downloaded 525 designs. I believe that's this month, maybe not. Do a lot of demoing and a lot of videos, so it's probably since day one, I'm thinking. But I've downloaded quite a few designs. If I do want to see the designs I've previously downloaded, if I go over here to design ideas, I can just go down here to downloaded, and you get a good idea of kind of my tastes and what I like in design. So these are all my previously downloaded designs, and you notice there's a green check next to these. And so partly what that's there to indicate is the following: that you've already downloaded the design, that it doesn't count against your download limit. So depending upon what plan you have a limit as to the number of downloads you can do per month. And so if you've downloaded this in a previous month, it won't count. You could download it 100 times. It's never going to count against your download limit. Now, the other thing you're going to see that's quite important is if you go over here to the upper right corner, you're going to see where your profile is. If you want to go in and change your email, you can do that in there. You can manage all of your account settings, your planning and billing if you want to sign out. So if I go over here to plans and billing, I can see what plan I'm on. Now, people are going to be on one of 3 plans. The plan that they're going to be on is going to be either an elite plan, a pro plan, or starter plan. The starter plan is going to give you 5 team members, 25 gigabytes of storage, and 100 stock downloads per month. If you step up to the pro plan, you're getting 10 team members, 250 gigabytes of storage, 200 stock downloads per month. Private branding, which means that when you send out an art approval, it will have your logo on it. You get some supplementary artwork that's in the Graphics Pro Graphics collection, and you get the art portal. The biggest difference when you step up to an elite plan is you now have 20 team members, 500 gigs of storage, 300 stock art downloads per month, private branding, the Pro Graphics Collection art portal, but you get the stock art customizer. And the stock art customizer enables you to edit the designs and the clip art in your GraphicsFlow account without having to download those into a vector graphics program such as Adobe Illustrator or CorelDRAW. So the majority of our clients are on an elite plan, but there are some folks that are on primarily the starter plan, not a lot of folks on the pro plan. If I go to account settings, this is one of the very first things that you want to do when you set up your account. And most of you, I would always recommend, if you haven't, most of you have already gone through an onboarding with your account manager. I would strongly recommend going through that process because they'll help you with all this kind of new user account setup stuff. So let's kind of go through some of the basics of setting up your account. The first thing is your organizational profile name. This could be different than the name on your account. The name on your account, you're going to change through your My Profile. But if maybe the official name is Craig's Creations LLC Funhouse of Awesomeness, but you really only want to see Craig's creations when you send out art approvals, this is where you go to change it. So this would be different than what's linked in your account. This is what you want your customers to see. Also, you can add your logo. Kind of the trick to adding a logo, what I'd always recommend is a PNG file, and the PNG file will have a transparent background. And so what that means, you can kind of see that checkerboard feel there. What that means is that there is no background surrounding that diamond shape. If you were doing a JPEG file, you would see a rectangular background. And where that's limiting is if you set up your art portal and you want to use a dark background in your art portal, you're going to see a white box around your logo. So I would always recommend a PNG file with the transparent background. If you're working in Corel or Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator or Canva or whatever program you're using, if you save a PNG file, it's going to automatically default to a background that's knocked out. The exception to that is if it was starting with a JPEG file, then you just convert it to a PNG, it's still going to have the white background. But if you're taking a vector file and saving it as a PNG file, it's going to knock the background out. So stepping over to kind of the next section is art approvals. And this is where you can configure your watermark. And one of the things that I would always recommend on your account is I would turn off display watermarks on all art approvals by defaults. I like to elect to the point where when I choose, I want to have a watermark. So I don't want it to be on there by default if I send out an art approval. I just want to be able to turn it on for that individual graphics file. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. So I would uncheck that. And then I'd also, in the text of my watermark, it can say anything you want, but I would probably use my business name and I would add the word copyright and the year. And that just is a little bit of added security. So it's very obvious to the person that's receiving the art approval that you're not giving them permission to use your art or take it to another vendor. One of the things that you can determine under watermarking is if you're going to default to a dark or a light watermark, but you can choose that when you add a watermark to an individual graphic. So for instance, if you have a graphic that is very dark in appearance, you're going to want to do a light watermark. And if it's very light in appearance, you're going to want to do a dark watermark. And then you can do that for the individual graphic. I have my watermark set up to repeat, but it can just be a simple one, element here. It doesn't have to be in, the center of the graphic. I can do a repeat and, change the rotation angle. So I'll go over here and just change the rotation angle right here. So it's kind of like your typical boring watermark, but I would do a repeat pattern and I would definitely elect to have it at an angle. I think that looks a lot better. And I think most folks are kind of accustomed to seeing it that way. Opacity will change the opacity of the watermark. So if I slip this all the way back, it's going to disappear. And if I move it over here, it's going to be solid. I like to be kind of right in the middle there. So a little bit of opacity. And then size, that's just a preference thing. So to me, that's too big. It's kind of invasive. If I go over here, that's too small. I think the middle position, again, is just a nice compromise, maybe even a little bit bigger. There we go. And once you're done doing that, just click on Update Default Watermark. That's it. That's all you have to do. So it's updated those settings and they're saved. Now I'm going to skip over Art Portal. We're going to come back to that in a second. But I'm going to go over to Policies and Disclaimers. So there's two types of disclaimers in GraphicsFlow that are automatically stamped into your art approvals. One is a color disclaimer, and the other one is terms and conditions. And where terms and conditions is utilized is when somebody hits the approve button on an art approval, they will have to click through this. And so down below here, we have kind of the standard color conditions here. It says, hey, we strive to display as accurately as possible the colors of products shown on the website. Due to the inconsistencies of various display monitors, the colors you see on the screen may not be a totally accurate reproduction of the actual product. Screen images are intended as a guide only and should not be regarded as absolutely correct. When approving, you are acknowledging the fact that waiving any claim of dissatisfaction due to color, meaning the way it's going to look on their screen can look different than what the actual product is. And you don't have any control whether or not they have a monitor that's, missing an RGB channel or their monitor isn't color corrected. You don't have any control over that. So kind of letting them know that, screen colors are going to be different than the finished product, I think is really a wise thing. I've added into mine, I've added copyright restrictions. So I've got copy in there that says all designs represented in this art approval are the intellectual property of Craig's Creations. You are not permitted to take the artwork we create to other vendors. The unauthorized use of these designs is a violation of international copyright law. It's a little heavy, but I think it's important when you're working with your customers that you have that conversation with them up front and say, hey, you're not permitted to take this artwork that I'm creating for you to other vendors. You do not own the copyrights to that. I own the copyrights to that. And I'm letting you use that artwork provided we print products for you. And I know that can be somewhat of a sensitive issue because maybe they want to get a banner made and you design the logo for them, and they want to get the banner made and you don't do banners. One thing I would suggest doing is being in the business of brokering banners so that you don't have to worry about that. You could get set up with an account like with somebody like 4over, and then you could broker the banners. But I know that is a sensitive issue, but I think you have to be really clear with your customers that if you're going to do art development for them, that you're not doing it so they can take it to another vendor. And as much as, you shouldn't have to say that, unfortunately, you do have to say that. And also it's based on the trust level you have with the client. But the client, my dad used to always say, hey, don't leave the money on the the cashier's table and leave the room and expect to come back and see it there. It's just too attractive to some people. So just, I would always recommend having copyright restrictions. So once you change this, you just want to click on update and terms and conditions, and you can always restore it back to default if you choose to. So next, I'm going to skip over to Art Portal, and this is where we would configure your Art Portal. And this is a feature that is going to show up in both a Pro plan as well as an Elite plan. The starter plan does not have an Art Portal. I think one of the biggest reasons that people elect for the Elite plan is because of the Art Portal. It's a great way for your clients to interact with the artwork. They can go in and view all your designs, select the design, submit it for customization. So I'm going to walk you through some of the kind of basic settings in your Art Portal so you can kind of see how we get this set up. So the first one is, what artwork assets are you sharing on your portal? Are you going to let them look through design ideas, clip art, and fonts, or maybe just design ideas? Personally, I think it's a good idea to let them look through all three. They might go through a design and say, hey, I like this design, but I like this font. And they can put in notes when they submit their art request that says just that. So I would recommend all three, but if you do change that, you can click on Update View Settings. Navigation is where you can add additional links. And you can see I've got all these additional links in my portal because I've added showcases from art approvals of very specific types of artwork. You can edit and delete these. You can drag and drop them to change the order. But if you're going to add a link, you would just simply click on Add Link. For instance, if it was Facebook, you could type in a description, Facebook page or homepage. If you just want a backlink to your homepage, you can do that. Copy and paste your URL into here. And here, I'll just do www.facebook.com and hit apply. That's basically it. I'm not going to add a link in there, but that's the basic process. And again, once you add a link, you can grab these and drag and drop them to reposition. And I'll switch a couple of them around here so you kind of see how that works. So I'm going to take new designs for May and move that to the top right there. And then once I get done doing that, I just need to click on Update Navigation. Now, also in this section, Need Help has a little video. If you apply that, has a little video that shows them how to utilize the portal, and that'll add that to your portal. And then Contact Us is an additional contact form, which I think is really handy because you can use your Art Portal. If you don't have another website, you can use your Art Portal as your primary website. And if you happen to own a domain, maybe you own a domain from GoDaddy or somebody like that, you can use DNS forwarding to forward your portal to your domain. So like, for instance, my portal is at craigmertens.com. If you want to see how my portal looks, just go to craigmertens.com and you can see how I have mine set up. We're going to take a look at that in a second. So this is where you click on Update Navigation. Notifications. This is who is going to be notified if somebody submits an art request. So every user that you have set up will show up in the drop-down list. And so you can have multiple people be notified. And I noticed with some of my clients that they'll only have like maybe 2 emails or sometimes only 1 email for the whole company. If you're going to set it up that way, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to assign things to different people because everything will be under that singular or maybe that second email address. So a best practice that I always suggest is having individual email addresses, at least by department or by employee, so you can assign things. So in this case, If somebody fills out the contact form, it's going to come to me. But if they fill out a design request, I could have it go to Maddie or to me, however I'd elect to set that up. If I do make changes in there, again, I need to click on update notifications. So display settings, this is going to determine how my portal looks. So it is going to take your logo that you uploaded. And if you don't want the logo to show up, just, you can go ahead and just turn it off. But I think having the logo on there is great. You can set the size of the logo. Your header background is what's going to go behind the logo. So if I want to change this to a different color, maybe I want to come in here and make it, that fun green. I could go in here and make it a fun green. Let's see here. We'll get it pretty close. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And over here, header text. This is the text color. So because I have a dark background, I can go with white. I think it'll look awesome. And then my buttons and accents. So I'm going to change my button. So it's right now it's green on green. It's not going to look great. But I'm going to change my button so it kind of matches up that navy blue. If you know your colors for your company, and you have the RGB values or the hex values, you can just simply input those in there. And one of the other things you can do if you're using CorelDRAW or Illustrator and you have your logo open, typically if you use your dropper tool and you hover it over the artwork, it'll give you the RGB values, and then you can use that to key those in here. And there's also the ability to add hex values in here too, if you're using web graphics, for instance. So you can do an exact match if you have the RGB or hex values. In terms of the header text, I have my own header text that I include. I also, have my own kind of personalized text that describes what the portal is all about. And I think this is important to kind of personalize this the way you want to communicate to your customer. You can always reset the default, but mine says you can search through this extensive collection of designs, clip art, and fonts to give us an idea of what you're looking for. Our team can customize any design for your project. The key is finding a design that you connect with visually. The copy and clip art are not important, only the layout. Our team will customize the layout for your project based on your input. We suggest you search through styles as well as categories and keywords to submit an idea for customization. Select the image, input your notes, and select add items. Select submit design request to start the custom design process. If you want to copy this disclaimer, just go to craigmertens.com and you can copy and paste this into your header description. So I'm going to go ahead and update the display settings because I just changed the way my portal looked. And then last but not least is embed code. So if you want to create your own link to a landing page and configure a landing page exactly the way you want it, then you can copy this embed code and paste it into an HTML editor or something like, GoDaddy or Shopify or even your Inksoft store, and you can embed your portal into your store, into your web page versus using the standard portal. I'll show you an example of that in a second. So I'm going to go over here and just click on the little link to view my portal. I could click on it here, or I could go over here and click on just the word portal right here, and it does the same thing. So I'm going over to craigmertens.com. I'm going to take a look at my portal. I think I like that green background. That's looking pretty awesome. Here's my contact form. So if they want to fill out a contact form, which is awesome. And again, this can function if you don't have a website and you just want this to function as a website, you can do that. And you notice I have all these little showcases in here that are linked into my portal. So I wanted to see the latest designs for, let's see, what do I have? New designs, back to school showcase. I created a little back to school showcase, which is some artwork that I kind of tweaked out. I can add that into my portal as a link using the art approval function. So all I did is grab the view only link for art approval and added it to my portal. I'll show you an example of what an embed looks like here and using that copy and paste code. So if you're not experienced with HTML, it's going to take a little bit of effort to figure out how to do that. You can always consult with your account manager or with your web provider. So for instance, if you were with, say, Sage, they're very adept at doing this. It's quite an easy thing to do with Sage, and a Sage store with an embedded art portal is going to look like this. Looks pretty good. So they just add a button right here and click on design ideas. And here's what an art portal looks like embedded into a Sage store. I think it looks wonderful. I think it's really classy. So if you have a website, I would encourage you to go with the embed option, but that doesn't prevent you from just sending out the art portal link if you just want to send a quick link to an email of just the generic portal. So two ways to do it. One is to add a link to your homepage and set up a landing page and embed the code. And the other method is just to use the generic portal. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just whatever your preference is. One last thing that I want to talk about in this area is your team. So if you're on an elite plan, you have the ability to have up to 25 team members, or excuse me, 20 team members. On a starter plan, you have 5. On a pro plan, you have 10. If I want to delete a team member, all I have to do is go over here, go over to this team member. I could transfer the ownership. I don't want to do that. I don't want to own. If I transfer the ownership to another team member, they're the person that can add and delete team members. So I'm going to go over here and remove a team member right there. I'm going to remove Maddie, remove her from my account. She no longer has access to my account. If I want to invite another team member, I could just go over here and I could invite my wife. I could just go and put her email in here. I would set her up as a team member, not an administrator. So an administrator has the ability to change your billing information, has the ability to go in and edit your art portal the way it looks. They can change settings within your account, for instance, your disclaimer. And so if you just have workers that are working with you and you don't want to give them that level of responsibility, you would set them up purely as a team member. If you want to let that person go in and change the visuals on your portal and change the copy on your art approvals and things of that nature, then you can set them up as an admin. It's really up to you. And you can change their role once you set them up. So let's say you set up a salesperson and all of a sudden you notice they were making a whole bunch of changes in your account. And you're like, I'm just going to demote them to a member. You can do that as well. So it's really important, I think, to have separate emails for your people so you can assign them roles, and then you can also assign tasks to them. That's very important, because if you get a design request and a design request comes in through your portal, now I have the ability here to assign that to a different person. And if I don't have a team member set up, I have no ability to assign it to that person. So there you go. So we've got everything set up. We've got everything configured. Let's talk about stock art, kind of what's going on with stock art first. Number one, you are going to see design ideas, and design ideas are just a starting point. That's we're kicking off an idea. Ideally, we're interacting with the client, collaborating with them. And something I want to make very, very clear to you guys is the copy that's in the design and the clip art is completely irrelevant, because you can change all of that in any of these templates. And you don't have to bring these templates into Illustrator or Corel anymore. If you're on an elite plan, you can actually edit these files in the cloud. If you just want to download a file into CorelDRAW, you would click on download CDR, open the file in Corel. If you want to do the same thing in Illustrator, you download it into Illustrator. There's one key difference. If you're downloading into Corel, the fonts are embedded into the CDR file, so you won't get a font substitution, but the font will have an asterisk listed next to it if it's not installed. It just means it's embedded in the document. In Adobe Illustrator, you will get a prompt to substitute a different font. So it's critically important to install the entire master set of fonts when you first get started with GraphicsFlow, and we're going to walk through that in just a second. It's important to do that if you're running Adobe Illustrator. Now, if you're using the stock art customizer, you don't have to do that, because if you click on the template and you go over here and click on customize, you're just editing the file in the cloud, and you don't have to have the font installed. It's just right there. And if I want to type in 23 here, I can just hit enter, and we'll come back and do a little bit more with the customizer. So that's one of the advantages of the customizer. You don't have to bring it into Corel or Illustrator or in a program like Affinity Designer or Inkscape or Canva for that matter. You can just edit the file here. And I would urge you to do that. I think it's just easier if you just get the basics of the file set up first. Then if you want to do advanced editing, bring it into your external graphics program. So you have a little bit more flexibility in downloading the files once you customize it, because you can download a PDF file, which will literally go into any graphics program. So when you're looking for files, under design ideas, you have 3 options. You have downloaded, things you've already downloaded. You can also look at not downloaded. I don't think that's super helpful, because there's almost 7,000 files in here. But most people are going to be looking at all design ideas. But if you just want to see your favorites, just look at downloaded. You have categories and subcategories. So because you guys can't always guess to how we categorize things, sometimes this is a useful way of doing it. Let me give you a real specific example. If I went to category and I went to camps over here, Now I can see all the subcategories of camp, and if I just wanted band camp, I can just click on band camp, and there we go. Or maybe I want to add baseball camp and math camp and riding camp and church camp. I can do it, or maybe only one church camp, so I can uncheck these. So this is a good way if you're not really sure how we categorize things. I think doing it this way is great. And if you want to clear that, just hit clear. Another great way to select artwork is style. And so if you went over here and you just wanted to see, for instance, athletic designs, and maybe I also want to add patches to this, I can look by style. And remember, these templates are just a placeholder. And so you can change the clip art and all the colors and the fonts and every single one of these things. So this band design can very easily become a soccer design, or if you had a patch layout and, is currently set up with the moose in it with kind of a Great Outdoors logo, and you wanted to put crossed welding torches in here and make it for a welding company, you can certainly do that. So we understand that your customers don't think along those lines. It's kind of your job to do that when you're working with them on developing artwork, but you guys should always be thinking of, hey, this is just a cool design. Let's go in and change it to whatever we want. Now, you also have the ability to, we'll go ahead and clear this, but search for specific subject matter within a style. So if I went over here to patches and say, I just want to look at patches for motorcycles, I can just type in motor, and then I just have motorcycle patches. If I want to see all motorcycles, then, or anything to do with motors versus motorcycles, so I'll get all the automotive stuff in here too, then just clear patches, and then you can see everything. And again, the green checkbox is showing you what you've already downloaded. There you go. Now, the other option is to look by collection. I don't think this is super helpful, but this does show the difference between the artwork that is in the Pro and the Elite plan. So Pro Graphics is all 1,572 files that are in addition to that are both in the Pro and the Elite plan. And these graphics all came from our graphics builder collections. And so this is kind of supplementary artwork that's some of our newer artwork that's people really connect with. It's some of our very best artwork. Now, you also have the ability to receive new artwork every month. And the new artwork comes in, will always be at the top of your list. So for instance, the GFT06 is standing for GraphicsFlow, and 06 stands for June. So GF_template06. So here's a little trick for you. So GF_template03, there's March. So if you just want to go back and look for the designs we did in March, you can do that. So that's just a little kind of a power user trick. And you can also search by file name if you know the file name. And you can also search over here by file name if you wanted to, or you can just type in football over here. So there's all your, just another way to search. When you go over here, it's going to look at both clip art. It's actually going to look at clip art, fonts, and design. So that's where this little search comes in handy. So what I'm going to do next is we are going to go back to design ideas real quick so you can see the standard layout. And then, one other thing too, if you're used to a mouse, if you have a scroll button, you hold your control button down, you can zoom in or out. So I'm in full screen mode, but you can zoom in and out to kind of change your magnification level. So that's one of the advantages of having a web app running in a browser. So next up is clip art. So the clip art, this is kind of like a walk, for me, is kind of like a walk down memory lane, and I'll explain that in a second. But every month when we come out with new design templates, we deconstruct them into the core components of the template and make those into clip art, because we recognize a lot of our clients just like to take parts and pieces out of the templates, like this flag or this really cool paw print, and utilize them to create their own layouts. Maybe they, you like this particular crest layout, which is actually pretty handy, and you want to utilize that to make your own layout, drop your own text in there, all that kind of that kind of stuff. So we always kind of segregate out the clip art so you can use it independently. But the best way to select clip art, again, is either going to be by category and subcategory, or by doing a filter by subject matter. And so when I talked about a trip down memory lane, here we go, tiger, just typed in tiger. So if you look at the 80 results on tiger, the newest ones are going to be at the top, and over here at the top you have a tiger pattern, which is pretty handy for power clipping that or masking that into a design template. You also have these kind of fun modern tigers right here, and you have kind of Tony the Tiger cartoon down here, kind of aggressive looking tiger, realistic. This is one of my favorite tiger mascots. But once you start getting to about right here, these are tigers from our screen printing business back in the Desert Sportswear days. And this mascot right here, I'm quite sure that this mascot is 40 or 50 years old. And that, to me, that's like the perfect retro, old school tiger mascot. And I'm quite confident that somewhere in the United States or Canada, there is a school that is using this mascot as their official school mascot that has no idea where it came from. So if you want to edit the mascots and recolor them, you don't have to bring them into Corel or Illustrator, because if you're on an Elite plan, notice what you have. You have the ability to go in here and click on that customize button. And so you can customize the colors in your clip art before you download it. And man, I think that is just really super handy. So if I wanted to, change this to truly to orange, we'll go over here and click on this color. I'll click on orange, hit apply. And there's a highlight orange in there too. So we'll hit this yellow and we'll use we'll use this orange. It's a little bit different orange. And that's a little too much. Maybe we'll come back to this orange right here. I think it's going to be better. Yeah, there we go. So, and maybe you want to make this navy. So we'll make it navy. There you go. Actually, it looks great. And so you've gone in and you've customized this clip art before you download it, and you can now save it. So you might come back and use this again. So I would go over here to save. I'm going to save this in my art. I've just got a bunch of kind of random files in this little customizer designs folder. I'll just save it in there. So that's now saved into my GraphicsFlow account. And then if I want to edit this in CorelDRAW, I would download CDR. If I was going to edit this in Illustrator or another vector graphics program, Photoshop even, I would download the PDF. And the PNG file is a lower res photo that would use typically for social media, or maybe you were creating a virtual sample in your Inksoft store. I would suggest, actually for Inksoft, I would suggest downloading the PDF file, because if you bring the PDF file into the Inksoft Rapid Product Creator, it'll let you change colors because it interprets all the vectors in the file. So that's kind of awesome. So clip art is now editable in the app. So moving along, fonts. And we always kind of joke that the sign-on bonus for GraphicsFlow is the formerly 374 fonts that came in GraphicsFlow, which is now 560 fonts. So we added nearly 200 new fonts to GraphicsFlow about a month ago. And if you want to download those fonts, all you would do is click on download all fonts. It is going to download a zip file, and then you can install all the files from the zip file into your Windows operating system. Now, with that being said, it can be a little bit confusing. So let me show you kind of how I would do it in Windows. It's a little bit different in Mac, but in Windows, I would do this. I would say download all files, and it's going to download a zip file with all the files. And it's not a huge file because font files are pretty tidy. So we're going to download that, and that's gone to my downloads folder. And I'm just going to open up the folder. And here it is. And so it's in downloads. It's a zip file right there. Now, one thing I would recommend doing is right-clicking on it and going to extract it. This is going to be dependent on if you're using like WinZip. I'm just using the general zipping capability that's built into Windows 10. So once this is extracted, then you can install the font. So something that's really important, if you're just updating the font set from the original 374, and by the way, this is literally every font that goes back to the early days of our successor company, Digital Art Solutions. This is the newer version of those fonts. So this is really the only font set that you need to install if you're a legacy DAS client. So once that's unzipped, then I'm going to install the fonts, and they will be available in all my programs. So they would be available in Illustrator and Photoshop if I have a signed program. They're even going to be available in like your Microsoft products like Word or Excel. So we've extracted that. I might move this to another folder from downloads, but what I'm going to do is to show you how to install. I'm just going to go over here and click on downloads. I'm going to click in the folder. Here's all the fonts, and I can do a quick little search because they're in subfolders. I'm just going to type in *.ttf and hit enter. And this is going to pull up all the TrueType fonts. And then I would just select all. So if I go Control A, I can select them all, and then right click and hit install. And if I hit install, I've already got all these installed. So it's giving me a prompt that says, hey, this font's already installed. Do you want to replace it? And definitely not. So I'm going to click on do this for all current items. I don't want to replace any of the fonts. I just want to install the ones that aren't there. Well, mine are already all there. So that's going to go really quick because they're already installed. So, but if you're updating the fonts, that's the way to do it. Just check the box, do this for all, and tell it to not overwrite the original fonts. And then the second step, there's some open type fonts in here too, is *.otf. This is the open type fonts, and you'd repeat that, and then all your fonts are installed. In Mac, it's a little bit easier. You can just drag and drop the folder into your font system folder, and they'll install. If you run into any problems doing this, we've got great written instructions for this on the GraphicsFlow website, and also you can reach out to your account manager. Your account manager is the person you talk to if you have any questions. That's their job, is to be of service to you, to make sure that you're off to a good start, and that if you run into trouble, that they're there to provide you with assistance. So it's not really technical support, it's more like training support. We do have a dedicated technical support staff as well. If you're requiring technical support, do not email your salesperson. Just go to graphicsflow.com and just simply fill out a support request. It's super easy to do. It's pretty obvious where that's located on the site. I don't think we've hidden, well, here, you can do it right through the app. You could just go over here to the question mark, get help, or you could go to graphicsflow.com, and this is where you submit a support request right here. I think doing it from the app is the easiest way to do it. And this is an automated system. So, once you submit it, you're going to get a confirmation that you submit it. They're going to tell you when they're going to either call you back or send you written instructions or a link to a video or a meeting link saying, hey, we need to meet with you. And it will keep sending you reminders until you respond to the tech support request. So if you're not responding to the support email saying, hey, is your issue still active? You're going to keep getting emails until you respond to that. So that's our way of making sure that the balls don't get dropped, so to speak. So there you go. Now back to our account. So we have gone through design ideas. We've gone through clipart. We've gone through fonts. The next area I want to talk about is my art, and that is art storage. And art storage is really important because if you look at programs like, for instance, we use Google Drive at work. If I upload marketing assets to Google Drive, say they're Illustrator files, Photoshop files, PDF files, Corel files, I don't get accurate, either I don't get previews at all of those files in Google Drive, or the previews aren't accurate or high resolution. And that's a huge problem. So what it forces me to do, if I want to look at the files, I have to download it, which is certainly very, I believe, inconvenient. So when you upload files to your GraphicsFlow account, what it will do is it will actually, takes a little while because it's processing the file, and especially if you're doing a bulk upload, but it's creating previews of all of your files. And so the previews are high resolution. They look great. Like, so for instance, if you upload an Illustrator file, I mean, this is what you're looking at. Doesn't that look awesome? So you have the ability to upload your graphics files and share them with your customers. Also, if you have a DST file, that's embroidery, it will generate the preview for the DST files. Just bear in mind, DST files don't carry color data. So we have to assign colors to each needle position on the file, because the DST file is a primitive format, doesn't have color detail. If you're working with like drawings or Wilcom, or you're also working with the Pulse software, Melco, all those programs have the ability to output a rendering of the actual embroidery file. So dropping that into the same file as the DST would probably be a good idea. You can upload EXP files and also Wilcom EMB files, but it will not create a preview for those because those formats are proprietary to those companies. So it will preview most of your common formats: Corel files, JPEG files, PDF files, EPS, PNG, DST, Photoshop, even an SVG file. If you've bought a whole bunch of SVG files from Etsy or one of these online sources, and you can't preview a SVG file in your Windows operating system or in your Mac operating system, but you can if you upload it to your GraphicsFlow. And that would be a really smart move, is to upload your purchased clip art to your GraphicsFlow account, because you get these great previews. And even better than that, you can keyword them. And so you'll notice this file has tags on it. And those tags indicate potential keywords that I would be using to locate a file that has this Panther in it. So I have the word Panther set up here, Central for Central High, Jaguar because people can't tell the difference between a Panther and a Jaguar most of the time. Champions, as I might use this as a champion. I even added the keyword tag show samples, and I can delete a tag just by clicking on that X there. And I can add a tag right here. But I can also bulk add tags. So if I go into a folder, let's put it this way. Let's say I spend some time going through all the artwork on my hard drive or on my server, and I make copies of the files by subject matter, not by customer, but just by subject matter. So for instance, I put together all of my logos for my customers. I have a folder for them. There's customer logos. I have a folder for all my tennis designs. I have a folder for all of my family reunion designs. You can bulk upload those folders to GraphicsFlow. It will create the previews, but then you can go in that folder. You can switch over to list view here, and you can go into folder, and then you can add tags to that. So I could add a tag that says family reunion on it. So I could pull up all my family reunion designs, or I could add a tag for all my designs. Let's say you're doing a lot of work with NASA and you want to keyword tag all the NASA logos. You can do that as well. Now, bear in mind, you can also search by the file name. So if you go to filter results, you can search in here or in here by file name. So you can do that. So if the word Panther was in the file name, you'd find it as well. But it's searching for the tags and the file name. So it just makes it really super easy for you to find your files. And once you find the file and you want to download this file, hey, just hit download, and you can download it and open it up in your graphics program, which to me seems super awesome. And if you want to share a file with your customer, you could just say, hey, click on the little three dots there, say add to art approval, and add it to an art approval, and you can share it. So by curating your graphics collections into categories by subject matter, you can very easily create a little art approval showcase for your customers to show them specific examples of your work. I think that's one of the, in my opinion, one of the best use cases of GraphicsFlow is expediting the process of having the customers select the artwork. And if you've done webcasts with me before, you know how I feel about recreating screen grabs from, you know, websites like Custom Ink and all these online design websites. It's a lot of work. You have to have the art skills to do that. There's copyright issues, there's time frame involved, and frankly, it's very inefficient. And so if you were to able to get, you know, 10 designs in front of a customer for back to school, and they were to pick one of those designs, then you don't have to recreate that. You're collaborating with them. This made it super easy for them to buy from you, and you can do it a lot faster, and you don't have to charge them anything. So if you go into where we have what's called art approvals here, you can create an art approval showcase based on designs that you already uploaded to My Art, designs that you personalized in your stock art customizer, as well as designs that were you just want to take from stock designs in GraphicsFlow. So I'm going to go in here to this little art approval, and I could create a new one here too. Say create new, but I already created this one. And back to school designs, I'm kind of curious what's I put in here. It's probably cool, I think. Yeah. Oh yeah, these are some of the designs I did for the most recent art drop in June. I think these are June designs in here. So I just created a little virtual sample here, and I have the art here, and I could just zip this off to a customer just by going share, invite collaborators. I can either email them directly just by entering their email address here and using the GraphicsFlow system, in which case it will have your logo on it, but it's going to come from the GraphicsFlow domain. I think a better choice would be to send a shareable link, because you can just paste that into an email or even a text message. And there's 3 types of shareable links. There is a view only link where you are sending strictly a link where they can just see, they can't do any commenting. A commenting link, if you're sending it out to multiple people that are not connected within the same organization, they'll all be able to see each other's comments. So if you're sending it to 5 employees of the same company, a commenting link is appropriate. But if you're sending it to 5 different companies, I would do a view-only link. And this is where you grab the link to add a showcase into your art portfolio. Same here. Same right here. Just go and grab a view-only link. If you're doing the final sign-off and the approval of the artwork, you would do the comment and approve link. And when we go and do some customization, I'll show you where that one comes into play. But this is just a great way to get some ideas off to a customer, narrow the scope of their search so that they're not having to, lean into you to, duplicate something that they created online. You made it really convenient for them to purchase from you. You've reduced your art development costs and the time involved. You can be really responsive to them. So utilizing the art approvals function as a sales and collaboration tool is, I think, just as important as using it for an art approval tool, in my opinion. So the art approvals will have two basic categories once they're processed. One is going to be a status of approved, and also the other one is a status of not approved. So approved will have a little stamp here, not approved won't have the stamp, and I can look at just the ones that I approved or just the ones that are not approved or all of them if I want to look at the whole thing. And then I can also go in and select these and archive them. So if I want to take this one and archive it, I can just move it into the archive and it's hidden from view, and I can look at, if I want to, I'll move that into the archive real quick. And once I move it into the archive, if I need to come back to it because the customer is saying, hey, that's not what I approved, what I can do is I can pull it out of the archive, or I can we'll just go move it back to open. And then what I'll do is I'll just resend it to the customer. So I would just go over here and say, hey, let's open it up and just resend it. Just as a little nudge reminder saying, hey, you approved this on June 1st of 2023. Here's all your notes that you did. So, there's just a great way. I think this one has some actual notes on the actual approval. Yeah, it does. So it says, just to confirm, we're going with Oxford Gray. So all the communication on this artwork is in one centralized location, which is this web page, which is the art approval. That's the source of truth for this artwork. So there's no back and forth communication where, what was the last approval in that email thread? What did we actually, you don't have to do that. It's all done through the system, and everything is tracked and everything is logged and everything is stamped. So if you're not, I would hate to have to convince you that it's a good idea to have your customers approve artwork. But I'll just say this, if you're not having customers approve your artwork, the local Goodwill will be very grateful for the shirts that you'll be dropping off with them. So having an approval process and procedure with your organization is a great hedge against mistakes, which can be quite costly, not only in terms of the product that's wasted that more than likely will have to be reprinted, but losing customers. It's just hard to save. You mess up a big deal with somebody, it's kind of hard to save that a lot of times. So having an art proofing process, I think, is just a really great business policy, and it should be a standard operating procedure for your business. So the next thing I want to talk about is design requests and the art portal. So what I'm going to do is go through a typical workflow that'll kind of tie all of this together. And so you guys can see how the art portal works, how a design request works, how the customizer works, and how we tie that into an art approval. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend to be an end user. And I'm going to go to the craigmertens.com art portal. There we go. So I have my portal being DNS forwarded to craigmertens.com. And so that's what you see over here in the header. Otherwise, you would do this generic, really long link for that. So my host is GoDaddy. I go into my GoDaddy account. I go to DNS forwarding. I copy and paste the link for the portal, and then it shows up like that. Super easy thing to do. So if the customer came in here and they wanted to have you personalize one of these designs right here. Let's say it's this design right here. They really dig this design, but they want you to change the physical appearance of it. And they said, hey, listen, love the design, love this design. Could you change this? You change this to Central football with our Cougar mascot. And I need it to be burgundy and navy. Sounds good. So they're going to put their notes in here. They're going to hit add item, and they're going to check out. And they could check out with more than one graphic, but we're just going to check out with a singular graphic. And once they check out, what will happen is they're going to get an email, and then I'm going to get an email. So they're also going to get a responder that says, hey, thank you for submitting. I'm just going to send this to myself. And there's that. And my phone number, 555-555-5555. I need this by Monday, of course. And they're going to submit it. So first thing they're going to see is confirmation that it's been submitted. They're going to have an email in their inbox that says, hey, somebody's going to reach out to you shortly. I'm going to have an email in my inbox. And then also in my GraphicsFlow account, I'm going to have a design request. So if I go over here in design requests, I'm going to have a design request in here, and it's going to come from this design. And this is where I kind of have to decide what I want to do with it. And there's two use cases for this. So use case number one, it's just some random person from the internet. I get these all the time at craigmertens.com. If you've been fortunate enough to get a lead from me, it's because some random person from your area filled out a design request. And as a result, I looked at it and said, hey, I have a good client in Indiana, Roger. I'm going to send this over to Roger. And you just scored a lead. So that's just a random person finding you through SEO or local Google search. And now you have a prospect that you can sell goods to, right? And the other one is just sending your clients there. And you could send your clients an art approval with a showcase of art just to kind of narrow it. But if they can't find anything there, just send them to your art portal, give them some specific instructions. Just say, hey, listen, here's a link to my portal. If you don't mind, searching out a design, don't worry so much about the style or the text. Just find something you connect with, and you should be good to go. And so this came in. I'm going to assign it. This person there. If I put any notes in there, we need to get this done by Monday. Then that person is going to get a copy of the note. That to send an email with the note. Also notified them in the app too. I've got the lead information if I need a salesperson to follow up. I accidentally filled one of these out on one of my clients' websites when I was doing a demo, and I'm still getting emails from them. It was pretty wild. I actually emailed the sales rep saying, hey, you guys are really responsive. Don't take me out of your automated email sequence because I just want to see how you guys handle this. And it's very professional. They have a whole sequence of emails that goes out. It's great. And then over here, here's all the instructions on the design. I can just click on the link here on the design, and I can just do my editing. So we'll go over here to customize, and I'll just do some quick editing on this. And we're going to change this to 23, or not 32. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. So 23. And where it says bullseye, I'm just going to type in central. Might put central high in there. We'll see. I think central high is going to look better. There you go. And it's a 2-layer effect. So I'm just going to copy and paste the other layer in here, hit enter. And then where it says Dart League, I'm going to type in football. Could change the font if I wanted to. Fix that. And down below, we don't really need this. So I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm just going to mute it. And I'm going to get rid of the clip art because we're going to put a football in there. So I'm going to go over here to swap right here. And I'm going to say replace. I think we talked about putting a cougar in there, right? So I'm just going to type in cougar. And we'll put a cougar in there. Right there. So there's our cougar. Hit apply. This would be a good time to recolor the cougar. So I'm going to click on this color right here. And I'm going to color that to navy because that's already in the template. And then this color right here, I think I'm going to color that to white. Here's the colors that are already in the template. Same here, color it to white. There we go. And then to do kind of the final coloration, what I'm going to do is say view all layers. Here's all the colors in the design, and they were requesting burgundy. So I'm just going to swap out the red with burgundy, and we should be good to go. So there's kind of a burgundy color. Should look awesome. Yeah, it does look good. And there we go. And there's a weather effect on here now. So the weather effect, when you bring this into Corel or whatever your external graphics program is, this is the layer that sits over the graphic, and you'll have to delete it. We are adding a functionality that will allow you to remove the weather effect right in the GraphicsFlow app, but that's not quite live yet. So next thing I would do is I would save the design. So I'll go over, and you can change all the sizes. If you go to advanced editing, you can, change the size and the location and all that stuff. But I'm just going to save the design now. And bear in mind, if you save it, you can come back and edit it as a template again. So we'll go over here to My Art. I have all these back to school designs. I'm going to save it in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to download a CDR version of the file right now. So we'll download a CDR. Just put it in my downloads folder. There we go. And I'll also download a PDF file. Put it in my downloads folder. And then I'm going to add it to an art approval. So we'll go over here, add it to an art approval. We'll create a new art approval. Central High Football Concept. Go. So we created the art approval and we added the file. I'm going to go back here because you remember I saved it into My Art, into these back to school designs. So if I wanted to come back to this design and edit this again and change the colors, or it doesn't really matter what I do here. If I want to change the colors, I just go back here and just say customize and make a copy of it, just change the colors. Maybe I want to reverse out the colors in the design, or maybe add red to or the burgundy to the mascot, which may or may not look good. So we'll change this to burgundy. It'll probably look okay. It's not the end of the world. It's not great, but now you can, when you hit save, it's going to say, hey, do you want to update the original or save it as a new customized design? And I want to save it as a new one. And we'll just call that B. And I can just name it. We could call this Cougars Football. So you could do limitless copies. So in other words, you could take this one concept and spin it off into all your local schools, just change the colors and the mascots, do all that. And you create a little presentation, get that out to your customers, use it as a prospecting campaign. In my way of thinking, that's just a really smart way to conduct business. In terms of the art approval, here's the art approval right here. I'd probably add a background color to this. So I'd go over here and add a background color, probably like an off-white or a gray, something like that. There you go. And fire it off to the customer with the sharing link. They come in, we send the sharing link off, they get the little link, they want to approve it. Guess what they have to do? They can put any special notes, but they've got to click on I agree to approve it. They approve it. It's stamped approved. You move it into production. Maybe you build a web store with it. I mean, that's how easy it is to do. One thing I'm going to suggest that everyone does, if you have not done this already, if you go to GraphicsFlow.com, you can scroll down. You can hit our link for our YouTube channel. You should all be subscribing to YouTube. We are prolific with videos. All the good training videos for GraphicsFlow are built in here. You've got different playlists in here. We're always adding new information. So this is your primary resource of getting training and education through your GraphicsFlow account, is right directly through the YouTube channel, which you can access from your account just by going to the little question mark icon and clicking on training videos. So if you're in your account and you want to access the YouTube channel, just go to the little question mark here, training videos, and that'll go to all of the training videos on the YouTube channel right here. And if you want to view the full channel, you can just click on one of these videos here and just go to YouTube. And so if you go to the YouTube channel, there is a dedicated webcast to each major area of the software. So thank you very much for joining me on the new user orientation today, and we look forward to seeing you on future webcasts. Thank you.